Previously on Sue Emblem. And now, the final battle. Light versus Shadow, canon versus fanfiction, goths versus preps. Who will emerge victorious? We will see. In all seriousness, hello and welcome back to Heroes of Light and Shadow for the final chapter, Light and Shadow. We're on the Dragon's Altar top floor, and finally, it is time to bring down Medius, preferably for good this time. And we have the right road again, which is kind of interesting. I think it's a bittersweet feeling, before the final battle and all. But, well, we know everyone's going to be left standing because I'm playing. And this conversation is actually a little strange. Okay, you haven't mentioned this before. Interesting. My fortune teller's always old ladies. Like the one in FE7 who charged you for her services who everyone hated. Well, that does make a lot of sense. Okay. You're basing this just on an old fortune teller? Really? I mean, of course, Mary Sue's gonna survive this battle, unless she's secretly 99 and her birthday is today. But no, of course she's gonna survive, because if she died, well, yeah, we get a game over, so she has to survive. And I always found that really weird. It's kind of strange, like, talking about fortune tellers and, like, living to be 100 just before the final battle and using that as evidence that you're gonna win? That seems a bit of a mood clash to me, I don't know why. Anyway, here's a conversation here, what Jagan is saying. Basically, our mission here is to rescue the clerics, take down Medius as fast as possible, and get the hell out. Otherwise, things are gonna get really hairy. Yeah, because there's another Reinforcer armor in this chapter, and we don't want to be around to see it. Not only that, but Medius himself is no slouch either. Now, before we check out those things, let's look at the map. So we see we have a level 20 dragons here, and they are not letting up. Even on normal mode, the enemies here have stats above 20. So, yeah, that is a significant change from the original Mystery of the Emblem. Now, in fact, in the original Mystery of the Emblem, I don't believe these dragons were even here. The only enemies in the original game were Medius and Earth dragons that spawned as reinforcements. So we've got Earth Dragons, we've got Ice Dragons, we've got Mage Dragons, and of course they had to throw in Wyverns. So, literally, the Wyverns will not stop tormenting me until the very end of the game. We also have Lena, Maria, Ellis, and Nina, the 4 clerics, and as you can see there, they all are on the enemy side. They all have physic or fortify staves and some magic tomes. Just a few warnings. One, they will, of course, and here is the big man himself, the Shadow Dragon, who for some reason only felt the need to turn to a Shadow Dragon now and not even say the game actually called Shadow Dragon. He's got the same dark breath as the Earth Dragons do, but look at his attack. 51, that is pretty ridiculous. He's got some pretty crazy stats, and I'll talk about him more when we get to it. But first, the clerics. Now, we have a bunch of base conversations here regarding the 4 people who can recruit the clerics. The 4 sort of destined ones, if you will. The ones who are virtually forced, as I call it, into the final chapter. As in, you're not actually forced to bring them, but if you don't, things will be a hell of a lot harder. Because I'll just mention these things about the clerics. One, the clerics count as enemies in all respects, which means they will use their awesome staves healing the enemy. That is really, really annoying, and you want to stop that as soon as possible. The best way to stop that is to recruit them. Secondly, they all carry a magic tome of some power, and they will be not afraid to use it if you're within 2 spaces of them. Even worse, they'll use it if you're within 1 space of them, and your counterattack will probably kill them. So whatever you do, do not get within 1 space of it, like, get within melee range of one of the clerics, because they will suicide. Trust me, they will. And now we have Sirius here, who's asking if he could arrange so that we deploy him next battle, which we would anyway, really, because he's awesome, so that he can speak to Nina. And, well, is he familiar with the princess? Oh no, it's not like he was in love with her in the past, or anything like that. You know, it's not like, you know, he saved her life in the past, they fell in love, and he got beaten by your army in the previous war, and now he's wearing a mask because he doesn't want you to find out his true identity. No, it's not like that at all. Nope. He's just a perfectly normal person who just wants to save a princess and apparently make her happy even though he can't. Nothing suspicious about that. Anyway, we now have Merrick, who wants to, he wants to rescue Ellis, who is Marth's older sister. Once again, Ellis suffers from late character joining syndrome. In this case, it's even more extreme, given that she doesn't actually join until the final chapter itself. But she can actually be put to use right in this chapter. I'll talk about the clerics a bit later, but anyway. Merrick wants to talk to Ellis. Now, a good thing to remember here is that only these 4 characters are able to save the... Even though, you know, Marth is Ellis's brother, I actually screwed up in an early recording and called him sister. Sorry, no, Marth may be feminine, but he's not that girly. Anyway, even though he is Ellis's brother, he can't actually snap her out of her possession. And neither can Mishala snap out Maria, which is really annoying, because, like I said before, Mishala's whole goal the entire game has been to rescue her, so it makes absolutely no sense that he can't recruit her, but I guess in the original mystery, you didn't recruit him, so I guess they didn't plan for that eventuality, but still, they could have at least... Oh, it's okay. Again, with his higher base stats, I'd probably much rather be using him in this chapter than Minerva, but still, anyway, we've got information on all the clerics, and now we have, well, presumably, our last How's Everyone? Yeah, training... Oh, hey, Julian. Oh, wow, that is just too perfect. Defense and resistance, wow. The stats he needs to survive, I only need him to survive this chapter. That is just absolutely perfect. Completely perfect, although I doubt... Hey, I actually got someone I'm actually using to get some stat boost. I mean, granted, there are just 2 worse stats. Admittedly, those are probably the only stats he could have got boost to, because I don't think these actually go exceed your caps. Yeah, there we go, magic resistance. He could have got defense. I don't think he can... Well, you can get lucky, I forgot. But anyway, so that's actually pretty cool. We'll just save right there. And when we pick off, we'll do some more preparation. Let's continue getting ready for the final battle. First, I think we should look at our inventory and our items and just see what we've got. Firstly, we should trade the Falchion over to Marth, because it's useless sitting in the inventory of someone who can't use it. Also, it's pointless to keep the Wormslayer on Marth now. because the Falchion is essentially an infinite use Worm Slayer. So yeah, you want to yeah, it'd be stupid just to keep that the other one on him. So let's give the Worm Slayer to, I think, Ogma. And let's trade over some Lancers to Catria, including a Dragon Pipe with more uses in it. And Catria's got the Brave Lance from Sheeta, just because it helps her double better. Also, sadly, I will not be bringing Sheeta to this chapter. I've got to kick out 2 people to make room for Julian and... wait, not Julian. I need to kick out 2 people to make room for Merrick and Minerva. And sadly, I think those 2 are going to have to be Sheeta and Bast. I actually had to kick out Bast in the final chapter in my very first playthrough. The reason I chose him rather than Ogma is because Ogma has at least 2 points higher speed, so at least Ogma can double some things. Bast, with his 24 speed, will not be doubling much in this chapter. Not only that, but originally I was considering bringing Bast just for the Hulk Flare. Later on, I managed to find some little get-around that let me use the Hulk Flare on someone else, and thus bring all the legendary weapons to this chapter. So, yeah. Anyway, I've given the Mercurius over to, well, currently to Ogma, but I'm not going to actually have him on him yet. Because you see, originally my plan was to, because I was going to have the Mercurius on Mary soon, I wouldn't really need Ogma. Narval has the Master Sword, obviously, so I'm going to make sure that everyone I bring at least has some super powered weapon, or is a healer. So, but then I realized that, yeah, I could, and then I would bring Bast for the Hulk Flare, but then I realized I could get the Hulk Flare onto Catria by use of the arm scrolls I have, you'll see that later, and so I realized there was less point for him, and so Catria wasn't really taking up a slot, so I really thought that, yes, I could bring Ogma because of the extra, speed. Now, also what I did, because this is the final battle, the final chapter, and all this stuff is going to be useless being around, after quite a bit of selling, I made an enormous fat stack of gold. My reasons for doing this were that all this stuff would be useful on Wi-Fi battles, but since I won't actually be doing any Wi-Fi battles with this team without a flash cart, which is something I'm, like, violently morally opposed to, I, yeah, wouldn't be needing all these extra items hanging around. So, yeah, I sold pretty much everything I had in terms of spare weapons, except for a few things. Now, this gave me, well over 30,000 gold, about 35,000 gold. Pretty sizable amount. Now, the reason why I've cut to a blank screen here is, I'm actually going to have to cut out a large chunk of the preparations, because you might be wondering what I spent all this gold on. Well, you see, I actually managed to spend this huge heap of gold on getting Merrick all the way to level 20 in the drill grounds. Yes, I actually managed to do that. Now, I was thinking of spending this gold on, you know, getting all the 4 characters. For Sirius is already pretty well leveled up, but the others to a decent level so they wouldn't die easily. It was probably more important to do this for Merrick, because when he's promoted, at least he can heal. In my first playthrough, I simply promoted him immediately, because he's already, like, level 10, but that gives him pretty wimpy stats. So, I thought, hey, I'd do injustice and actually get him fully leveled up, all in the drill grounds. And I did manage to get him all the way level 20. While I was doing that, though, I did come across something rather peculiar that I want to show off. So about 10,000 gold later, and Merrick was level 17, and ready to get some more experience. Excalibur really helped, all those crits. Yeah, he once was on a streak of like 4 crits in a row. That was pretty insane. I was annoyed I wasn't recording there, so there really wasn't much point. Anyway, I win this battle, gain my experience, and... so it seems you can raise your weapon levels in the arena. That's interesting. I never knew you could do that. I always assumed that you couldn't, unless it takes longer, because that certainly took longer than it would in normal gameplay, currently. Yeah, unless it does take longer, and oh, hell no, I'm not doing that one. Anyway, so, another quite big lot of gold spent, and a few more arena opponents later, and... okay, let me look at Merrick's stats for a second there. Okay, let's do a quick average check. His magic is exactly average. His skill is roughly 2 points above average. His speed is pretty much exactly average. His luck, I believe, is, yes it is, it's about, it's a little above average. his defense is a little below average, actually, about 1 point-ish below average, and his resistance is almost exactly average. So, for the most part, he turned out pretty much what's expected of him. Wait a minute, I forgot HP. His HP is, 1 below average, but that's not really all that bad. So I guess the drill grounds don't really hurt your stat growth all that much. The fixedness probably makes you go to your averages more quickly. And so, remembering not to sell my last Master Seal, obviously, Merrick is ready for this. I still find it weird that sages still get a boost to strength, despite the fact that that's not really relevant anymore. You see, before that helped them wield heavier tomes without a speed reduction, but now, since there is no weight, tomes can't be heavy, so that extra strength is kind of useless unless you somehow want to reclass into a physical user, which would be completely and utterly moronic, for the most part. The vast majority of mages make awful physical users, so just, yeah, you probably don't want to reclass them. Anyway, here's the irony. Merrick is now equipped with Thoron, and Elrond is now equipped with Excalibur. Role reversal much? And thankfully, the rescue staff being E-rank means that Merrick can now start to use it immediately. Now, I just realised I sold all of my basic E-ranked healing staves, but fortunately Mary Sue had a couple of her own, so Merrick can take those. So yeah, now you put to work healing, and or rescuing if things get really bad. So, yeah, that is... Yeah, sorry. Now, I also cut out some more stuff here, but basically, I also used all of my stat boosters. Now, yeah, I need to explain this probably in more detail. Usually in most Fire Emblem games I play, I prefer to save stat boosters until the very end. I just like to use my characters on their own merits, really, without much, additional stats or anything. So... yeah, I kind of don't really use them in the main playthrough all that much, except in absolute emergencies. In this case, yes, I did wait until the final chapter. I amassed a huge amount of stat boosters throughout the whole game, and I thought, well, I may as well use them now, just to finish capping off a few stats that I wouldn't have capped normally. Now, I'm not going to show the using of all the stat boosters, because this actually ended up being, well, about 10 minutes. But I have them all recorded in a Word document because I, yes, needed to keep track of this. Because when I calculate, at the very end of the playthrough, I'm going to show all my characters' stats and whether or not they were better or worse than their averages. Now, of course, averages don't take into account stat boosters, so if I use stat boosters on someone, I'm going to have to subtract that from their final stats to determine what their actual natural final stats were. So, let me just go into who got what. I used 1 Goddess Icon on Narbal, 1 Draco Shield, 1 Talisman, and 1 Angelic Robe on Catria, just to help her tank better, 2 Spirit Dusts, and 4 Secret Books on Elrond. And even after 4 Secret Books, he still was not at max skill. That is pretty ridiculous. And, in fact, Elrond got pretty much all my secret books. But anyway, 1 speed wing on Ryan that brought him exactly up to his speed cap. That's good. 2 energy drops and 2 goddess icons on Marth. This made sure Marth now has maxed strength and luck. So, he's basically maxed everything except for defense and resistance. I also used 1 energy drop on Sirius. Now, I actually decided I had a second energy drop on me, and if I used that, I could have got him to max strength. But I thought that if I maxed his strength now, his final level up wouldn't give him a chance to gain strength. And that wouldn't be, very fair on him. So I thought I'd let him get his final level up, and if that didn't, if he didn't gain strength, in fact, he's not going to max strength anyway, the highest he'll go to is 24, but then I'll use the energy drop afterwards to take him up to max. As it turns out, I actually forgot to use the energy drop altogether, so I only used 1 on him in total. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the stat boosters I used on my characters. I hope I recorded that right. I hope this is not an old version of the Word document I used. But anyway, let's continue with preparations. After a final shuffling around of items, I realised I had just enough gold left to make a little bit of improvements to the Master Sword. As if it could get any better. Well, I had just enough gold to give it 2 more might, and 5 more crit. So it's now 14 might and 35 critical. I would have liked to have forged it more, but anyway. Now, I was going to call this Master Sword Plus, but I found out that I didn't want to ruin the already established name, and I didn't really know how to go over and change that, and it may have been full already. So, yeah, originally this was going to be Master Sword Plus, but, I'm not really imaginative with my weapon names, for the most part, but with things like this. I mean, you know, Master Sword is already a really cool weapon name, you know, you can't really get any cooler than that, so... yeah, at least it's all nice and blue and highlighted on the screen. And this gives him a ridiculous base critical rate of 54%, which is kind of going to come... oh, by the way, the angelic robe, goddess icon I use on Narval now has given him max luck, so he has the highest evasion possible in this game. It's only 55, but still, everything helps. Anyway, it's now time to actually start. Oh, I can't believe I forgot to say, this is in fact the very last time we'll ever hear this game's surprisingly good battle preparations theme, so, yeah. And this theme here, I believe, is one from Shadow Dragon called The Shadow Dragon's Ire, which makes so much sense now, given that, you know, Medius is actually a Shadow Dragon now! You know, because... I still think it's hilarious. It's the last game was actually called Shadow Dragon, Medius was referred to as the Shadow Dragon all the time, and he was just an Earth Dragon then, and it's not until the sequel where he actually becomes a fully fledged Shadow Dragon, so yeah. Now this line right here, in the original Mystery of the Emblem, this made me lose so much respect for Jagen. Yeah, really, like, I think the guy's awesome, but seriously, he's all like, alright, yeah, you should just go kill them. No, don't do that, seriously, just don't do that. See, again, when I heard in the original Mystery of the Emblem, I was like, oh come on, I seriously, I really lost a lot of respect from him here. I mean, at least the remake actually makes him look actually kind of, you know, conflicted about actually saying that. And yeah, it also gives us this. And this made me regain a lot of respect from him. So, yeah, that's at least kind of nice. So at least the remake, yeah, they actually make you respect him again, so that's good. Again, so yep, that lost respect from the original, I regained that with this conversation. Unfortunately, Nerisu is still willing to kill them if it comes to it, but anyway, let's begin the player phase. And just about the first thing you'll notice here is the Binding Shield doing its thing and sealing away the enemy Earth Dragons. I'll talk about that later. For now, before we start, we have one more thing to show. Yes, that's right, it's time for the main story at least, the very last episode of the Fail Channel! Welcome one, welcome all to this, the last and final, that means the same thing, episode of the Fail Channel! For the main story at least. I can't guarantee there won't be any fails I want to show off in the DLC or bonus maps, but we'll get to that when we do. You see, I was worried for a moment that there wouldn't in fact be another Fail Channel since the one back in Chapter 22. I was worried for a bit that I wouldn't get any fails on the final chapter, but, well, fate complied, and it gave me some very good material to work with. What was it, you may ask? Was it, getting one of the clerics in enemy range, misclicking and accidentally killing one of them, falling victim to randomly spawning reinforcements again, and believe me, this chapter's got its fair share of them? Turns out, it was none of those things. It was simply, well, you'll see for yourself. It was a few turns into the final battle, and I was doing very, very well. On the first turn, everyone dodged what they were supposed to dodge, everyone critted when I wanted them to, and I managed to take out most of the dragons in that turn. So I was simply mopping up the leftovers, and, well, I did a spectacular job of that. In fact, I also had this happen, which is something you probably really want to see. Hello there, Wyvern! Yes! Revenge! Sweet Parthia Critty Revenge! Sorry, I apologize to Roll Mithril for ripping that off. I'm a huge fan of your videos, by the way. But, sorry about that. I just felt I had to say that because, that was so satisfying. You have no idea how satisfying that was after those things have tormented me for so long. In fact, do you want to know exactly how much damage that would have done? Enough to kill that wyvern 4 times over, and then some. But success is not the name of this channel. No, this is the fail channel, and I'm sure you want to see this fail, so here it is. Elwyn was in range of the enemy, but that didn't matter, because I calculated, based on his defense, he wouldn't die. Unless that happened! Yes, good old-fashioned crit hacks. You know what's even funnier? This very same thing has happened to Elrond twice! Yes, it was frustrating failing the final chapter like that, but you know what? It was hilarious at the same time. I, in fact, left the screen there for quite a while while I was recording, because I just couldn't stop laughing at that. How fitting for my final fail to be, Elrond, your new nickname is Mr. Gets Critted by Dragons. Seriously, twice in one playthrough. Anyway, we now return to our regular, non-final presentation. For good this time. This is the Fail Channel, signing off. Okay, so let's begin the final battle proper. Since our characters are so massively overpowered, I can feel pretty safe simply charging headlong into the enemy. Now, my plan here is to kill as many of the dragons as possible on the enemy phase this turn. And so I want to bait them into attacking people who can either double or have massive crit rates. Again, I want to kill as many as possible on the enemy phase, preferably outright kills. If you simply weaken one of the dragons, the 4 clerics will heal it back to full health. So you don't want that. And also, if you make sure there's nothing for them to heal, they won't be wasting their staff uses. And yes, once you get them back, you will be able to use those staffs for yourself, so that's good. Next, you have to make sure that the 4 destined ones are always travelling quite far up with the rest of the party. Because you want them falling behind. You want to recruit those 4 as fast as physically possible. You also, just don't hesitate to break out the most powerful weapons you have. And again, the vast majority of your characters are probably level 20 by this point, so you don't really need to worry about who kills what for experience. Now, I did need Ogma to crit there. If he didn't, we'd have one more dragon to worry about in the enemy phase. The Ice Dragons, wow, their fight is not looking so good at this point. Again, critting them, doing all this, this really helps. And especially helps if this guy kills Ogma and not Catria. And Ogma gets a second crit, that's great. Ogma's blade is certainly proving its worth. Now there is one save point here, but you want to save that for just when you're about to take on the final boss, because otherwise, things can get kind of annoying around there. Now, I just want to point out now, since now is probably the best time to say it, I have actually seen this chapter completed, the lunatic version of this chapter, by the way, completed in 1 turn. And before you ask, yes, that did have all the clerics recruited and alive. That is amazing. It required a lot of again staff abuse, but seriously, that was absolutely amazing. Really amazing. The guy who did that is like a freaking legend. Again, lunatic mode of this chapter, 1 turn, everyone alive. Again, absolutely amazing. I'm not quite going for that. I prefer to be a little bit safe. You've got to really plan if you want to do something like that. It does require, again, a lot of again staff abuse, a lot of warp staff, a lot of rescue staff. Speaking of planning though, I did plan I didn't plan the crit, but I did plan Sirius does have enough speed to double Mage Dragon, so I thought I could kill one of those. I am prioritising, my priority list goes like this. Mage Dragons first, because they actually do the most damage to us, and if 2 of them hit anyone at once, they're probably dead. Next, the Wyverns, because if we don't kill them this turn, they'll swing around and hit Julian and Merrick and brutally kill them. Fortunately, we have a couple of... Swordmasters are really the only thing that can reliably double Wyverns at this point, or actually snipers, max speed snipers can. These Wyverns here have 25 speed, which means you need 29 to double them. Yeah, that is pretty annoying. So basically, yeah, Swordmaster's really useful for the fact that you can double Wyverns. They're also good for dodging, provided that you know, get lucky. Okay, now, I just want to say this. There is a lot I have to get through in this chapter, and not a lot of time. So, I will... Excuse me if I'm a bit quick about this, but there's quite a lot I've got to get through. Firstly, the music. Yeah, a lot of people didn't really like this music at one point. In the original Mystery of the Emblem, this played Holy War, the same thing you've been hearing for chapters 21, 22, and 23. Yes, the same theme kept playing in this one, and it was actually really epic and did kind of fit the occasion. Of course, going with the theme of, you know, almost all Fire Emblems in the series having a unique theme for the final chapter, I mean, even FE1 did that. Except Path of Radiance for some reason. Again, for some really weird reason, Path of Radiance did not have a unique final chapter theme, but still, the theme that played in the final chapter anyway was awesome, so it didn't really need one. This one is totally new, and, well, instead of, general Fire Emblem sounding epicness, you get Ganondorf playing the organ, as I like to call it, or just villain organ for short. I'll talk about those reinforcements later. Anyway, yeah, it does kind of grow on you. Personally, I'm not really all that fond of this one. And here you see Elrond being a complete tank mage, something you don't see every day. Unless you're Rishiel in Tearing Saga, but he actually could only do that with the aid of a special toad, gaining a 3+10 defense. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, the music. So, and the enemy phase theme, as you can tell, is the enemy phase theme from the original, the final chapter of Shadow Dragon. It's a remixed version called True Last Rebel, also Earth Dragon. Yeah, they kind of hurt. These ones are a lot better statistically than the one back in Chapter 18. Now, I'll probably stop talking about the music to instead talk about this. The Binding Shield's effect. You would have seen this back at the start, not the start, but during Chapter 20, if you leave the Earth Dragon alive before you finish off Hardin. Now, I'm going to save in a moment, but I'll talk about this afterwards. The Binding Shield's main purpose is to seal away Earth Dragons. The way this works in gameplay is that at the start of your player phase, if there are any Earth Dragons on the map, they are immediately destroyed. And again, you can see this back in Chapter 20. If you leave the Earth Dragon alive before defeating Hardin, the Binding Shield will do its regular animation, and that Earth Dragon will be gone. Now, I'm actually in range of speaking to Nina at the moment, but I won't do that just yet. I want to get all the clerics in one go first, and position ourselves ready for the inevitable final onslaught. But, anyway, like I was saying, what this means is that on normal mode this chapter, you don't have to worry about the Earth Dragons at all, because they only show up at the end of the enemy phase. By the time they've shown up, the Binding Shield will already have taken care of them. Because yeah, before they even get a chance to move, the Binding Shield will seal them away. So you never actually have to worry about them at all. However, in hard mode, it's a different story. When reinforcements can move the turn they arrive, you will have to deal with the Earth Dragons for at least one enemy phase before they're actually sealed. And yeah, you actually max speed, that's cool. What this means is that, and also, you also need to note that even in non-lunatic mode, Earth Dragons have a breath, their breath has 2 range, rather than 1 like most other dragons. This is actually, yeah, really annoying, so we've got to watch out for that. And it means that, yeah, you're not really too safe. Also, if one of them gets their hands on any of the clerics while they're on your side, they are dead. They are deader than dead. They're deader than dead. I'll just stop there. Basically, yeah. Now that brings me to my next point, the reinforcements. Next turn I'll be able to start recruiting clerics, so I'll talk about the reinforcements now. Reinforcements in this chapter keep coming, I presume, infinitely. They spawn from those little squares you'll see arranged in another square around Medius. The ones I moved Narval right next to now. You also got to make sure you do not enter Medius' range before you're ready, because he will completely destroy you. Anyway, I can also probably heal Elwood with Merrick. Now, the one really, really annoying thing about these reinforcements is the squares they spawn from are actually impassable tiles, which means you cannot block these reinforcements off. There is no way to stop them from spawning aside from killing the boss. This is really, really annoying. Fortunately, after that onslaught last turn, not many reinforcements come. You'll notice there was only one Mage Dragon that spawned there. And if you blockade the spawn points with about a couple of characters just to block off the edges of the tiles, then, yeah, you'll be able to kind of mitigate the damage the reinforcements will do. Now, it's time to recruit the clerics. Everyone is in range of their respective significant other, except for Merrick. But I have Fina on hand, and she'll be able to get him there. So first, let's recruit Nina. And this is probably the most interesting one. Since, we're all, curious to see, Sirius revealing his identity, aren't we? And the theme playing here is again the theme of love. I believe the last time you heard that was with Yashalis and Minerva back in chapter 21. The original mystery the last time I played was in the chapter where you first recruited Minerva. But anyway, Nina obviously recognizes who this guy is, and I think I can stop pretending to not know who he is anymore. And Sirius is like, oh, what are you talking about? I'm not him. I'm totally not him. I'm just Sirius. I'm just a normal person in the army, despite the fact I look exactly like him. And I play the proud commander whenever I talk. And I am holding the Gradavis, which he used to wield. Anyway, yeah, Sirius just wants her to go to safety to Marth. And this line here, this is interesting. Some people believe that Sirius is referring to Tita there. Now, you won't actually understand this unless you've played FE2, which had an amnesiac knight, heavily implied to be Camus. And I'll stop there for a second, because we're about to start fighting this guy for real. Well, that's certainly ominous. Yes, let's fight the Shadow Dragon. Fortunately, we can attack on the turn we talk, so, come on, I would have liked to crit there. Ouch. Yeah, he hurts a lot. Like I was saying, though, you also definitely want the clerics to run once you've recruited them. I'm going to recruit Lena now. Anyway, regarding Sirius, yes, Teaser was a character from FE2 who met the Amnesiac Knight, who was totally the same as Sirius and probably might be him, and she fell in love with him. Now, some people think that after this game, he goes back to being with her, because he feels that, him and Nina, there's just too much complications. You'll see in the ending, it's ambiguous, there are multiple ways this could have gone, so really you can think about it however you like. Anyway, so Lena is now recruited, and this bit is also interesting. I'd also probably like to, I probably need to talk about this, although the Heroes of Shadow do have designer's notes for this one. This is interesting. Now, you see, if you look by this conversation, this one's been localized a bit. In the original Japanese version, what Lena told him to was to drop the sun from her name and just call her Lena. Unfortunately, in the English version of Shadow Dragon, Julian just calls her by her first name anyway. Now, it might sound weird to you, but dropping the honorific from someone's name is actually almost the same thing as what they've translated as in this game. Really. Yeah, honorifics are a big deal, and dropping them shows very, very serious familiarity. Very, 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 very much so. And so, this translation makes kind of sense. Not to mention that it's kind of a reference to when they first met back in Shadow Dragon, I believe. So yeah, Lena asking him to call her Honey. Again, in the Japanese version, it was just dropping the honorific from her name. But again, it's roughly the same thing, really. I'll just say this, yeah, Japanese in general is a little, much more subtle about romance than the equivalent in English would be. Anyway, so now we're recruiting Maria, and this is the second time we have to rescue her from being a damsel in distress. Despite the fact that back in Shadow Dragon, she actually had a conversation about not wanting to be a damsel in distress. Now this conversation also, I'm not sure if it changes if you didn't recruit Mishalis. In the original Mystery of the Emblem, the conversation was left ambiguous as to what actually happened to Mishalis. So in this game it's a little less ambiguous, but I'm not sure if it changes if you didn't recruit him or not. Now, we only have one cleric to go, but unfortunately, in order to get to her, we're going to have to need to, Oh crap, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, definitely don't do that. Yeah. You don't want to be doubled by this guy. In fact, on Lunatic mode, if you're doubled by Medius, you are dead, period. There is no way you could possibly survive being doubled with him by him on Lunatic. Seriously, because on Lunatic mode, his attack power is 60. The highest defense you can possibly have is 30. 60 minus 30 is 30. 30 is the highest, no, 60 is the highest HP you can possibly have, meaning 2 hits of 30 and you are guaranteed to die. That also means that on Lunatic mode, when Medius has 30 speed, anyone with 26 speed or less will die the moment they even think about attacking you. Which is, yeah, really, really annoying. So, soon we'll have all the clerics recruited, and then I can talk about the last thing I need to talk about in this chapter, the final boss, the Shadow Dragon himself. But anyway, now there's another romantic moment here, Merrick and Ellis. And now that once you've recruited, don't do that, once you've recruited all 4 clerics, you get this dialogue. Now this dialogue was not in the original Mystery of the Emblem at all. This is totally new. You know what, I expected the localizers to work in, Maria's catchphrase in Shadow Dragon, no protesting, into that bit there. But anyway. So, yeah, we've now saved all of them. And now, this line here, again, I believe, this line coming up is another total jab at Shadow Dragon and its side quest requirements. So once again, it's like, they think they can complete this chapter by killing people. They're like, no, we say no to that. We're gonna do this and save everyone. And yeah, I believe personally that is actually a jab at Shadow Dragon. Anyway, speaking of Shadow Dragons, it's time to take down the Shadow Dragon once and for all. And for this I need to talk a little bit. Medius on hard mode has 27 speed. That means he is literally impossible to double, because to double 27 you need 31 speed, and the only item that would get you to exceed your cap is now fixed to Marth, and his max speed is 27. At least that means Marth will never ever be doubled by Medius, ever, and that's good, since Marth has the only weapon effective against this guy. Another random trivia about Medius while I'm here, his wings are actually part of the background, and you'll notice that if you, use a spell like Starlight that changes the background, you'll see it actually gets rid of his wings for temporarily. Yeah, his wings are actually part of the background, but anyway, like I was saying, on Lunatic mode, he has max stats and everything, and he is pretty insane there. I won't talk about exactly how hard he is on Lunatic. If you want to know, go and check out the TV Tropes article on SNK Boss. So go there, look in the turn-based strategy section, and I myself have added a very, very large paragraph on just how Medius is the cheapest thing ever on Lunatic mode. So seriously, go look at that. TV Tropes, SNK Boss, look under turn-based strategy. I added the whole thing myself on him, but it'll give you a pretty good idea of how ridiculous he is in that mode. So I'm basically running out of time here, but essentially, the one thing you want to know is, you really want to take down Medius as soon as possible after rescuing the clerics. Because if you don't, the clerics are going to be in range of the reinforcements that'll keep spawning. And not only that, but if you haven't trained Minerva, Julian, or Merrick, the reinforcements will also happily, brutally kill them. So really, the thing about Medius is you want to take him down in one turn, if at all possible. Marth really helps with that, because Marth is the only character with a weapon that is effective against this guy, the Falchion. Normal dragon-slaying weapons don't work on Medius. I'm sorry, I've actually frozen the video here, because I have more I need to talk about, and I'm about to finish things. So, again, normal dragon-slaying weapons will not work. You need the Falchion if you want to be effective against this guy. I'm not sure if Divine Stones are also effective against him. I know they were in Shadow Dragon, but I'm not sure if they are here. But even then, he will probably double your mana keeps unless they're ridiculously powerful, so watch out for that. And then once again, if you're playing on the higher difficulties, it is literally impossible to survive being doubled by him. So, if you see a ×2 next to his attack, don't do it, because you are guaranteed to die. And I guess there's probably another thing I need to mention about this guy, and it's that he has 0 luck. This means that it's actually really easy to critical him, and with support bonuses from all your characters attacking him stacking up, it's generally easy to stack on your critical chance to the point where, yeah, it is actually quite easy to crit him. Now, on the lower difficulties, Marth will probably be able to take this guy down in 1 crit. On the higher ones, not so much really. Of course, that 1 turn run, I believe, does require Marth to crit at least once. But anyway, on the higher difficulties, Medius has 40 defense, so pretty tricky to take him down in 1 shot. He also has 99 HP. So yeah, basically, every stat that can be maxed is, except for luck. Right then, I'm almost done, but before we finish this, Medius does have special boss conversations. He has them with both Marth and with my unit. So let me just show those before we finish him for good. So here's Medius with my unit, and I'd just like to point out Medius' battle theme, Reign of Shadow. I really like this theme, and in fact, I actually prefer the remix version in this game to the original. Although, I still think my favourite version of this theme overall is the version included on the arranged soundtrack of the original Mystery of the Emblem. That version was called The Last Stand. Look it up on Serene's Forest, it's amazing. I think that's my personal favourite version of this theme. Anyway, now we have Marth's conversation. Oh, actually descendant of Umri's brother, but he doesn't need to know that. Okay, so I think I'll put this off long enough. Without further ado, let's end this once and for all. Go back to the shadow! I can't believe it. That was just too perfect that I got a quit there. Seriously, I could not have asked for a better conclusion. That was amazing. Good one, Marth. And once again, he's doing that. As long as there is evil, I'll return. Didn't Loftus do that 1,000 years ago? Yeah, that doesn't really work. And, you know, losing the shield. I mean, we all know that's not going to happen, right? 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 And at long last, Medius is down. Presumably he'll stay down. And that is it. The end of this chapter and the end of the war. That's the end. I'll see you next time for the epilogue.